society outcast him, blaming him for a crime he never committed, and cast him into a pit of monsters. But he survived. Deep in the darkness, he awakened a mysterious power, one no one could control. Now, alongside a group of outcasts like him, he rises with a single goal, to change the unjust world that once abandoned them. The story begins in a dystopian world where a girl looks at her stuffed puppy, feeling sad that it got ripped. The girl's mother suggests they get rid of it, even though they had just bought it because she believes if they sew it up, the toy would look ugly. They are rich, so the mother doesn't have any problem buying another toy, and the little girl too, who although had attachment to this toy, agrees to throw it away, being influenced by her mother's words. So the mother throws the toy along with other trash in the trash disposal right outside their house. The trash bag goes through a ventilation system and enters a trash disposal truck, which takes the trash for final disposal to the junkyard underneath the city. Anyway, as the mother walks back home, a mysterious cloaked figure sets his eye on her and stares at her with a hateful gaze for turning things into trash so easily. Shortly after, the disposal truck from earlier enters the junkyard when another mysterious man follows it inside. Minutes later, one of the staff members at this facility finds the man scouring through garbage in a room full of trash bags. Getting suspicious, the guard points his gun at the man, demanding to know who he is and what his purpose is for coming here. The guard states that there has been a report of a trash thief recently who is jeopardizing the city's beauty by moving the trash outside. Suspecting that the man is the same trash thief, the guard rings the emergency alarm, and within seconds, 2 other staff members arrive to apprehend the man. The man throws garbage at the guards, catching them off guard, no pun intended, and escapes the room through the vents. But as he is about to exit through the back door, it shuts on him. Giving the guards an opportunity to fire, the man activates a hidden power, boosting his speed, allowing him to dodge bullets like a freaking ninja. He gets grazed by one of the bullets, but ultimately manages to escape through the sewer system. When things calm down, he comes out into an empty street and finally speaks, claiming that he is not a thief at all and only did all this to retrieve things that didn't deserve to be thrown away, including the stuffed puppy. The next morning, rumors spread about the trash thief, and 2 women discuss how bad these people are for society, calling them savages. A middle-aged man in dirty clothes, clearly an outcast in this clean society, overhears the gossip but chooses not to engage in an argument and walks away, leaving the city through a small door, entering a slum that is just outside the city. The man relays the news to the locals about the rumor that's spreading about them, and everyone becomes concerned, thinking the cops will now be all over their ass. A girl named Chiwa immediately suspects her friend Rudo, the boy with red eyes who is definitely the same kid who caused this entire drama. Rudo is currently in the middle of fixing all the trash he's collected in his hunt, which are mostly toys and accessories that can be repaired, so he doesn't notice Chiwa at first. So Chiwa comes close and asks Rudo if he risked his life once again by entering the city just to steal some trash. She reminds him how strict the people of the city are about waste control and that if he gets caught, he might spend the rest of his life in prison. Rudo responds that these are not trash, but perfectly usable things that those rich brats living in the city throw away without a second thought. He expresses how bad he feels for these items that don't deserve such treatment, and that's why he's brought them here to fix them and maybe sell them to the people of the slums. Chiwa understands Rudo's motivation, but at the same time she can't help but wonder if her friend has fallen in love with garbage or something. 3 self-proclaimed elites of this slum show up to bully Rudo. The guy in the middle comments on how bad the stench is and tells Chiwa she shouldn't hang around this garbage collector loser. Another one of the bullies kicks a lamp Rudo just fixed and mockingly says there's no point in repairing trash because no one will use anything touched by this loser. Chiwa doesn't understand what these 3 idiots' problem is because she believes all of them are just like Rudo, poor, discriminated, and of course, dirty. But the bully disagrees, claiming they're nothing like Rudo and can actually get out of this ghetto if they work hard. Apparently this slum was built to dump criminals, and the 3 bullies, Chiwa and Rudo, are all descendants of criminals. Things were supposedly going well for all of them until Rudo's parents went on a murder spree, destroying any pity or trust the city residents had left. After the bullies eventually leave, Chiwa cheers up Rudo, saying he's a good person and will surely do well in life. She then notices the stuffed puppy, and Rudo hesitantly tells her he actually wants to give it to her as a gift. But before she can take it, Chiwa's mom shows up and tells her to get away from him, dragging her away from there. Rudo heads back home and finds the man named Regto inside, the same man we saw earlier eavesdropping on the 2 women in the city. Regto jokingly mocks Rudo for failing to impress Chiwa, reveling that he overheard everything. But jokes aside, Regto wants to know how Rudo's trash collecting went last night. Regto tells Rudo that he doesn't need to go through all this hassle to earn money since he's still a kid. Regto says that although they aren't related by blood, he still considers Rudo family. Rudo is thankful to Regto for that, revealing that Regto took him in when he was abandoned after the incident involving his parents and has been raising him ever since. That's why Rudo wants to repay him by doing whatever he can, including collecting trash from the city. Recto notices the wound on Rudo's arm and realizing he was shot, immediately treats it, strictly telling him to stop going to the junkyard from now on. Rudo doesn't think this scratch is anything compared to the scars he got because of his real parents, revealing that both his hands are covered in black marks. Still, Recto tells Rudo to stop before the cops find out his identity. If he's caught, he'll surely be sent to the abyss, the same place where Rudo's father was dumped. Ever since his childhood, Rudo has always been despised by everyone because of his unusual-looking hands, and ever since Recto gave him his gloves, he's had the confidence to move forward. Anyway, Recto once again teases Rudo, telling him to act fast and give the stuffed puppy to Chiwa with a bonus kiss on the cheek. Rudo refuses obviously, and gets into a friendly brawl with his caring father. Meanwhile, the cloaked man we saw at the very beginning is standing outside, eavesdropping on Rudo's conversation. His relationship with Recto is a love-hate relationship. He gets overboard most times. He holds his and tells him that he should learn to smile sometimes, and even if he isn't happy, he could as well fake the smile so others wouldn't know he isn't happy. How would he even fake a smile when his eyeball is shooting outside as if something is wrong with him? He eventually escapes from Recto's grasp and comes out of the house. He looks around and sees it is morning, so he wonders if Chiwa is now outside. He walks towards the abyss, reminding himself that he doesn't even have to go so far to get trash because all the trash in that area gets thrown into the abyss. The abyss is a huge dump site, and not only trash like useless items are thrown there, even humans who are sinners are also thrown there. He looks at the abyss and sees that a criminal is about to be thrown. He recalls that his father was also thrown into the abyss. At least that was what he heard, and he cannot confirm if it is true or not. He overhears a person saying that someone is about to be thrown again. He says yes and turns to the back to see it's Chiwa. They share their pleasantries, and she admits that it is rare for her to see him around there. Well, maybe that is her lucky day. To him, the view from there isn't that great, not like the view from the entire slum is a good one, but that is just entirely different. The reason the slum was built at the edge of the city is to show the people there that if they do anyhow, they will be thrown into the abyss. It is funny because no matter how much you try to avoid seeing people fall to their deaths, you will surely see them around there. Rudo suddenly feels so much pain in his body and he falls down repeatedly. He rolls on the floor, wonders if it is the toy in his body affecting him, and stands again. His hand shoots out, so he stretches the toy to Chiwa and runs away. He bumps into the apostles on his way. There are about 4 of them, and that is a view that is very unfamiliar in the slum. They do not do anything to him and they move on, but he wonders what could have brought them there. He continues running until he gets to Recto's place. He sees a man trying to kill Recto and he screams, but there is no one there to help him. He runs to fight the man, but the man pushes him off. By the time he recovers himself, the man is done with Recto. He sits there as he watches man leave without knowing what to do. When he recovers, he screams Recto's name and runs to his rescue. Recto screams that he should leave, but he cannot leave his uncle like that. Recto screams at him. He tells him that he has to change the world. He is the only one who can change a world as filthy as that, and he should survive. Rudo has so much love for Recto and cannot stop holding him, so he keeps holding on. The apostles come there and catch him with a dead body. They shoot to incapacitate him, and they declare him a murderer and arrest him for killing Recto. He begs to differ. First thing first, Recto hasn't died. He could still be saved if they act fast on him. However, the apostles, who think they are more elite than the people in the slum, do not even care about the lives of the people in the slum. They just want to catch who they presume is a criminal. He tries to explain that he didn't kill anyone and the person that killed him had just escaped. However, they declare that he is from the slum and definitely capable of murder. From that room, he is taken straight to the abyss. It's funny how within a split second, a person's circumstances can change to what they once talked about. He is hung on the abyss and everyone starts gossiping about him. Chiwa understandably hears too. They talk about how he has become a child murderer who killed the man that took care of him. Chiwa is disappointed because she had great hopes for him. While he is on the rope to be dropped, the apostles declare that he is a criminal who deserves to be thrown into the abyss. Everyone starts screaming the slogan from slum to abyss and urging the apostle to throw him. He wonders if there is anyone who wants to hear him out. He didn't do it and no one wants to believe him. He looks around and sees Chiwa standing in the crowd. She looks like a familiar face, but he can feel that she is also condemning him. She speaks in her mind that she trusted him. She spoke for him even when others declared that he was a murderer, but he disappoints her and eventually turned into a child murderer. She drops the teddy he had given her and walks away in disappointment. Seeing that no one could even say a good word about him, he feels very bad. He had been condemned even before what happened, and that is enough reason to hate everyone. He vows that he will have his revenge. But the question is when? Because he is thrown right into the abyss, and darkness covers him. He can feel his life going out of him as he sees several visions in front of him. His eyes close to darkness, and shockingly, he opens his eyes again, this time not to the world, but to a scene of trash. He concludes that he has indeed been thrown into the abyss. He looks around and hears sounds and movement. He knows what he is about to encounter isn't a favorable one. He has indeed heard about how the abyss is dark, but what he doesn't know is that it is a hell on earth. How will he survive this hell? Ruto begins running for his life as more monsters like the kaiju start to emerge. The three monsters waste no time surrounding him from all sides. In this dire moment, he notices what they really are, beings manifested from piles of trash. He doesn't understand how this is even possible or how he's supposed to handle the situation. The only thing he can do is rely on his sharp reflexes to avoid being struck. While running, he stumbles and comes across a human skull, realizing it won't be long before he ends up just like this lifeless skull in front of him. He doesn't want to accept the inevitable, but what else can he do? He curses the apostles for throwing him into this pit, even though he didn't deserve it, and wonders where did things go wrong. The unstable pile of trash beneath him crumbles and he crashes downward, injuring himself severely. He can barely move anymore. This is an unsurvivable situation. There isn't any breathable air, and every time he inhales it feels like his lungs are being torn apart by the dust constantly flooding into his body. He knows he can't last long, so his only hope is to find someplace safe. But as far as his eyes can see, there are only endless mountains of trash, leaving him mortified by the grim reality that maybe this really is the end. Ruto pukes blood, indicating that his body has started to give up, even though he hasn't mentally. The monsters close in, so maybe this is it. As the end seems near, he just lays there and recalls his loved ones, especially his foster father Regto, who didn't deserve to die. Ruto knows he can't give up yet, not until he gets revenge on the one who murdered Regto. At that very moment, a mysterious power awakens within him, something that pushes him to fight back again. With the last of his strength, he grabs a steel pipe lying beside him and gets up to fight for his life. He vows not to give up until he makes those responsible pay for unjustly branding him a criminal, despite his innocence, and most importantly, until he finds his father's murderer. With that goal in mind, he swings his weapon at the monster, sending it crashing backward. Meanwhile, somewhere else in this massive trash pit, a strange man with an umbrella reveals to be watching Ruto's battle from the distance using binoculars. As for who this man is, we will find that out sooner or later. Ruto uses his speed to his advantage and goes completely berserk with his uncoordinated attacks. He gets shoved back by the monster and takes significant damage, but thanks to the adrenaline, he feels no pain and attacks again, throwing the steel pipe like a boomerang. Another monster emerges from beneath his feet, forcing him to fall back. As he takes a second to breathe, the pain finally hits and he begins bleeding from his mouth. But the frenzy continues. He charges again, this time completely tearing one of the monsters in half using a piece of tin roofing. Taking down one monster is a great feat, but Ruto has reached his limit. He can't handle the next monster charging at him. The monster slams its head into the ground, sending shock waves that launch Ruto into the air right beneath the man we saw earlier. The man wears a mask to survive the toxic atmosphere and carries an umbrella, even though it isn't raining. He says nothing and kicks Ruto for God knows what reason. Only then does he place a mask on Ruto's face, finally allowing him to breathe. Ruto asks what this place is and who the man is, but the man refuses to answer and simply tells him to shut up. When Ruto keeps yelling like an idiot, asking all sorts of questions like if this man is a local here, what this pit is, and if it in the underground, the man loses it and yells back, saying that they are indeed above ground and this place is just where the people of city throw all of their trash. The man explains that he was only trying to keep quiet, so the monsters wouldn't hear them. Now that they're both screaming at each other, the monsters who the man referred to as trash beasts emerge once more. The man tells Ruto that these trash beasts can't be defeated with ordinary weapons, but luckily for Ruto, the man's umbrella is specially made. He activates its powers and it transforms into a much wackier-looking umbrella. The man calms himself, points the umbrella at the monster and uses it like a drill to disintegrate the trash beast in seconds. More are on the way, but the man wipes out all of them in one sweep, leaving Ruto completely stunned. He finishes off the last beast using his ultimate move, Umbreaker Octa Shredder, and literally shreds the monsters from top to bottom with the danger gone. The man walks over to Ruto again. Ruto once more asks who he is. This time the man removes his mask, reveals his face and finally introduces himself as Njin, a cleaner of this pit. Of course in this case, cleaner has a deeper meaning, hinting that he's part of a secret organization that calls themselves cleaners. Njin is immediately overwhelmed by the stench of the area and starts choking, complaining about how awful the air is. He puts his mask back on and regrets ever taking it off. At this point, Ruto realizes that Anjin might just be another guy like him, and now that he's gotten most of the answers he was looking for, he finally allows himself to lose consciousness. He closes his eyes and faints. He remembers when he was still with Regto. One day he had returned to the house drenched and wet, and Regto asked him what happened. He revealed that day that he was pushed by object, and Regto asked if he hit the objects back in return. He said no and replied that he didn't do anything because he had bought into Regto's words that if objects are treated correctly for so long, a soul will inhabit them. Regto walks up to him asking if he really believes that and insists that even he who said it knows it is just a legend that no one can determine whether it is true or not. However, he was of the opinion that he would rather believe it, that objects, if treated well, can be inhabited by a soul. He cleans his body and insists on his belief that even the towel has a soul in it, because if it doesn't, how come it can clean a person's body that well? They even claim the glove he is putting on may later become a soul and help him. They both conclude that every object, maybe even the phone you are using if treated well, can inhabit a soul. Well, enough time for dreams, time to return to reality. Ruto returns to a reality that seems harsher than he assumed he would meet. He shouldn't be shocked. At least he is alive after the dreadful encounter he had earlier. He sees himself tied in chains and dragged on the floor. He looks up at the person dragging him and sees it is the same man he had met earlier, not just a man, Anjin as he calls himself. Anjin isn't there to baby him. He barely even cares. He keeps dragging him, and Ruto wonders if it is about time that he accepts his fate in this reality. However, this means he will decide to die, and there is no way he can get revenge against everyone who has wronged him. He screams to Anjin and insists that Anjin should let him return to the surface of the earth. Anjin looks at him like a fool. What surface does he intend to go to? How will he get to the sky? In fact, the world he assumed he was coming from is no longer there. That world is called a sphere, and it moves, which means it has moved away from where he was thrown, so there is no way he can return there. All Anjin has said falls on deaf ears to Ruto, who still insists that if Anjin doesn't return him back, he will scream and keep screaming. He begs Anjin to tell him everything about the world, even about the sphere. But no, Anjin isn't interested. Anjin doesn't care. He doesn't even give him the benefit of a conversation. Instead, he keeps dragging him and takes him to a place where he sees several trucks. Anjin leaves him there and turns away. He screams at Anjin to take him away, and when he turns back to his front, he sees several people there. I am sure he doesn't even see them as people at that point. He doesn't know what they are and just hopes they won't fight him. Fortunately, at this point they seem very harmless. They walk towards him as if they are amused by his survival. They ask him if he is from the sphere, and when they confirm that he could be from there, they remove their masks and run to him. They reveal that they haven't seen people from the sphere for a while, and when they do, they are always dead, which makes it a shock that Ruto survived. One of them steps up to help Ruto remove his chains. Ruto looks at how they react to him and concludes that they are indeed nicer than Anjin. Well, his conclusion about them is actually wrong, as they are indeed worse than Anjin. They tie him harder than Anjin had tied him and tie him to a truck. They laugh in front of the truck, talking about how much they will gain from selling him. They will not only sell his body, they will sell his head, ear, eyes, and cut him into pieces. They wonder if he thought they loved him and remind him that everyone in that world hates spheres. As a result, people will pay through their noses for them. You must wonder why people from the spheres are hated. Well, that isn't far-fetched. People from the spheres throw their trash into the pit, poisoning the atmosphere and contaminating the air. These trashes eventually become monsters which kill everyone. Many have lost their families to this calamity, so all they have for the sphere is hate. One of the men takes some trash and gives it to Ruto. He asks Ruto to eat the trash and survive because they need him to be alive for the sale, and even after the sale they will pay to watch him tortured. The man takes one of the trashes and puts it into Ruto's mouth. In anger, Ruto bites him and peels off the skin of 2 of his fingers. He eats it. He takes some of the trash and eats it too. He tells them they keep blabbing about trash, monsters, the sphere, the pit, but he doesn't care. He is just angry. His body activates a kind of fire. This fire turns his chain into a weapon that he uses to fight. He recalls Regto's words that objects, if taken care of, can inhabit souls, and these souls can save you later. He fights and Anjin watches. People who use the souls in objects are called givers. The man he bites tells the others that they should fight him and go for the object he is using because givers only draw power from objects, but they are shocked when they see him take a tire and draw power from the tire too. They realize he can use more than one object and he is strong. He hits them all, and just as he is about to hit the leader, Anjin comes and holds his hands. The red power fueling him reduces immediately and he gets back to his senses. He doesn't understand what is happening or what had happened, but he recognizes Anjin. Anjin apologizes for leaving him alone, but says he did that because he wanted to know how powerful Ruto is. Now that he knows, he will tell Ruto all about his power, that world, and even the sphere on the condition that Ruto joins the cleaners because they need him. That seems like a great offer for Ruto. At least he will get protection in that strange world. However, he considers his coins and rejects the offer immediately. Why did he do that? You will find out soon.